How you doing, Mr. Chong?
I'm good.
All right.
Very well, thank you.
Nice. I like your guitar collection in the back. That's cool.
Yeah, it's all for sale, by the
way. Also, are you going to be smoking with us?
I can, if you
Nice.
so desire.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to.
Yes, sir.
I would love that.
Yeah. I got my mojo ready. I'm ready.
All right. All right. Well, let's get into it. Welcome to Comics and Chronic. I am one of your hosts, Jake F.H. As always, I am joined by my partners, Anthony Iannaccio and Cody Willaka-Cannon. Today, we have a very special guest. He is a comedian, actor, writer, director, activist, Grammy Award winner, the patron saint of all stoners, and one half of the comedy duo Cheech and Chong. Please welcome to the show, Tommy Chong.
Hey, thank you. Please
great
sit
to have
down,
you here.
No more ovation. Thank you.
We're very stoked to have you here. This is Comics and Chronic. We like to talk comic book stuff and smoke weed. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna spark up.
Yeah, I'm gonna smoke too. But before I hit it, I'll just start off. Since this is a comic book podcast, what is your relationship to comic books? Do you have any favorites that you grew up with?
I grew up with comics. That was my deal. See, I was born in 1938, and when I was 3 or 4, I was in the hospital for pleurisy, and that was one of the things that my dad would bring me comic books.
Nice.
And although he was addicted to them, but it was he would buy them for me, but he would do the reading. And then when I was taken from the hospital to the Salvation Army home, the orphanage where we had to stay for a couple of years because my mother was in the sanitarium, and my father just came from the war, and he had some issues. That was what my father brought, a stack of clothes from the hospital and a stack of comic books. And
nice.
That was the last I seen of the comic books. Because when my dad left, the clothes disappeared, the comics disappeared, and they just handed me, the home attire, and that was it. But no, I grew up. In fact, one of my earliest memories in the home was the older kid could draw a picture of Batman, and that was fascinating to me because that was the only entertainment we had, comic books. There's no television. Radio was all country music, and the only outlet we had was the comic books. And so my dad was hooked on them. And when he was a truck driver, when he was driving, he would come into our room, as we got older, he'd come into our room and we'd be sleeping, and he'd go through our stack of comic books to find out, take his stash on the road with him. And so it was, yeah, it was great.
That's great. Awesome. My dad was super into sports, so I wish he would have comic books for me. I was always into comic books.
And that was not only entertainment, everything. It was our source of information. You found out what was going on in the world.
Oh wow!
And now as I grew older, my favorite turned out to be Archie comics.
Archie, nice.
Oh, nice.
Betty and Veronica, and Jughead, and then there was and Little Abner used to fascinate me.
Little Lavender?
Little Abner.
Abner.
Oh, Abner. Okay.
Abner. Chester Gold, I think. No, he was the Superman. Who was Little Abner? Hal.
I'm not quite sure who Little Abner is.
Because they had the hillbillies in there.
Yeah.
Because that's what Abner was. He was like a white poor guy, hillbilly.
Gotcha.
And there was Daisy May, his girlfriend. And but the amazing thing, find out who wrote it. Is on the tip of my tongue, because he forecasted quite a few changes to come, like as did Chester Gold, Dick Tracy, because Dick Tracy, they had two-way watches, radios on their watch, which I have today, which is amazing.
By the way, sorry to interrupt, but Lil Abner is by Al Cap. Is that the name you're looking for? Al Cap.
Al Cap. Well, Al Cap had a character called the Schmo. Okay, now listen to this. The Schmo was the perfect, because it would kill it. You didn't have to kill it. It was like a chicken. It fed you. It did everything for you. And you wouldn't have to kill it. It would just fall over dead when you were hungry. It would fall over dead. Almost hop in the frying pan and fry itself. Al Cap, and he had what was that little town? It was a little area. I called my where I grew up. It was it'll come to me. But yeah. And then when we got into crime, all the bad, the murder, the gangs and the machine guns, and what were they? They're called crime comics, something else.
Noir, like detectives.
Well, they were barred. They were barred because they're so violent.
Oh, wow.
Was Dick Tracy a part of that, or does that come later?
No, Dick Tracy was there.
Oh,
but they had these. It was crime, true crime, and they would show murders and people dying, and it was very brutal. And then they banned them. They banned it. They had censorship back then. Yeah, they blame comic books like they did blame reefer, marijuana.
Yeah,
both corrupted us. Look at us.
Yeah, it's the very thing we based our show off of.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember a comic named Joe Palooka?
No. Man, you're putting us to shame. I feel like I know nothing.
Write it down.
Joe Palooka.
Joe Palooka. He was like a white boxer.
Nice.
And then there was another guy that had he was a little homeless guy, and he loved hamburgers. Humphreys was his name. And he rode a tricycle with his house on the back. You guys I'm turning on to how about was it Captain America?
That I know.
Who said Shazam?
Oh, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. Okay, that was Captain Marvel. Yeah, I was right there with them all, man. I'm a serious comic book buff.
Wow, nice. I never knew that.
Did you happen to collect any of them? Like, do you have any of those older comics?
Now?
Yeah.
No. Back in the day, they would tear off the cover. How did that work? I forget how that worked. Well, because the comic books, they were used for advertising. Like you could order things from
like X-ray goggles or something.
Yeah, X-ray goggles. A workout. Clarence, what's his name? The 5-minute isometric workout, kicking sand in someone's face. That was the ad. Oh man. Comic books, man. Oh, that took me back.
The fictional town you're referencing is called Dogpatch.
Dogpatch, that's right. That's where they asked me where I grew up, and I grew up kind of like Dogpatch.
And you grew up in Canada, right?
Yeah, in Calgary. Okay. We were just beyond the building inspector, where you had to have permits to do things. Yeah. And some people threw up little shacks like in Dogpatch. and I had check this out. We bought a bungalow. My dad did, when we were young kids, and that's where I grew up. I spent like 12 years there, but no heating. Wood stove for heating. I know this is in Calgary. This is like 20, 30 below zero weather.
Yeah,
with a wood stove. That was our only heating in the house. Outdoor plumbing. In other words, an outhouse, and water down the road. We had to go to our neighbors to pump our water. So every morning, or every day, in the day, we'd have to go get 2 buckets of water, and that's how we lived for. We lived there for about 6 years. No, let's see. Yeah, about 10, 12 years. Living like that. Well, our neighbor, his what do you call it? Wagon had issues. So he had a team of horses, and pulling the wagon, the wheel fell off or something. Anyway, he built a lean-to right there. It was across the field from us, and he lived there, raised 4 kids. And he was homeless. It was like a homeless shelter. It started up. And what he would do, he'd collect old lumber from the neighborhood, and then as he collected it, he would add on to his lean-to.
That's crazy.
And he lived there for almost the same amount of time I lived there. And he was our neighbor. We'd go across, and he could play fiddle, and I hung with him because I was a weird kid when I was growing up.
Same.
He would take his team of horses, and he would dig shallow. They're called root cellars, not basement. Well, basements kind of, and we'd with the horses, team of horses, and we'd dig them. I'd hang out with them, and I was too small to work, but he would dig out that, and he could play a fiddle. And I'd go to his little lean-to, and he'd get out the fiddle, and he'd play a little fiddle music for me. And
sorry, is that one of your first interactions with music? It seems like you're very musically inclined. Is that one of your?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, I grew up. My mom bought a guitar when she was pregnant with me, and she couldn't play, but she would hold it up against her tummy and strum it. Oh. And I still got the guitar here.
Wow.
I had to rescue it because it was all in pieces and that, and it got a new finish on it. The one I had, the original, had a hula girl on the front. Nice. It was a Sears guitar. And then I learned how to play because another fiddle player lived on the other side of the field. And he was a professional. This guy played for parties, dance parties, and everybody. There wasn't a professional musician. Everybody had a job, and they could play music. And you played at parties. There was no such thing as touring. In fact, I was around when they had the first recording. It was on a cylinder, and I heard. Whoa. Recording Hank Snow, the Singing Ranger. Hank Snow, the Singing Ranger. He was a Canadian, and I heard it on one of those old Victrola. You got to crank them up. It was a cylinder.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I was into music. That's all we had. I had that little guitar and the fiddle player, and he taught me a little bit more, and I started playing dances. The hoedown at the parties. I was 8, 9 years old, and they'd give me a beer, and I'd put it under my chair. I hated the taste. I hated beer. Thank God, because you imagine a little 8-year-old alcoholic. But it was fun, man. I'd play all night, And people get drunk and have fun, and just party away.
Was anyone smoking back then?
Oh no. Cigarettes were so legal that house parties filled with smoke. Everybody smoked, and they had smoke breaks back then. You know, in fact, when they were going to kill somebody, they would give them his last cigarette before they shot him.
That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And they'd be in the war movies. They'd be laying there dying, and then they'd put a cigarette in his mouth. Here you go. And he'd be puffing away. Thanks, Joe. You know,
that's crazy.
So when did you start smoking weed?
Weed. I was 17 years old.
Okay.
Nice.
I was at a jazz club. I was playing I had my own band then. I had a rhythm and blues, Calgary's first rhythm and blues band.
Wow.
And I was in a jazz club, and a jazz bass player came back from LA, and he handed me a joint, my first marijuana cigarette. I put it in my pocket, and a Lenny Bruce record.
Nice.
And then he lit up a joint, and I took my first puff. And I just took a couple of tokes, and I wasn't sure about it, you know. And then I listened to a song called Lonely Woman by Ornette Coleman. And it changed my life, man. Awesome. Yeah, I think the next day or that Monday, I went in and quit school. I was trying to get. It was my second attempt at grade 12. You know, so then if I hit grade 12, then I could go to college, and I just, as soon as I smoked that joint, I knew that my life was not going to be school oriented, you know, or school induced. It's going to be street. I knew I wanted to be a blues player, and the best place to start was on the street. And that's what I did.
Oh wow! I didn't know you wanted to be a blues player or a musician. So can you play? Can you play guitar?
Oh yeah. I play. I wrote the songs, you know, Up in Smoke. I wrote that.
Yeah.
Earache My Eye. I wrote that, lyrics to that. Yeah, I've been playing serious. I was with Motown for a while. Yeah. With my band, but I wasn't good enough to record. You know, I could play guitar, but I wasn't. Thank God. Thank God, because nothing. I don't think there's any. The worst job. One of the worst jobs is studio musician.
Really?
Yeah. Well, figure it out, man.
Because you don't get to like jam and just riff and be free. Is it more?
No. They want you to play, but they want you to play, and you might do it over and over and over and over again. And the thing is, you got all these chops, and you can play so well, but people, they kind of steal from you. You know. In fact, I did a Dr. Dre record one time, and I was working. I was working on my comedy, and I used to do a bit called A Blind Melon Chipman, where I played a black blues musician, and I was working on this bit about Motown, and then Dr. Dre called and said he wanted me to do a little bit on his record, but he kind of treated me like a musician, you know, like a side musician. You know, there was no, hey, how you doing? What's going on? How's the wife? Nothing like that. It's just like, okay, we're rolling, you know. And he wouldn't, because Cheech and Chong, you know, we'd make up our own company, you know, and that's what he wanted. You see, on his record, he wanted a little name recognition, you know, so I was on his one of his last records. It went platinum anyway. but the way he talked to me, it was kind of like I was a side musician, you know, exactly, and I wasn't, you know, I'm a comedian, you know, that made records, and so I did a bit for him. he wasn't too happy. I said, okay. He said, okay, what do you want? I said, what do you want me to do? He said, well, you know, do that hippie shit, you know. I said,
do that.
I was okay. And I said, Dr. Dre, and I went into my black voice, Dr. Dre. This is how you want to make it in the business, you got to become a producer. You gotta become a record producer. And that's easy. Because all you gotta remember is this one phrase. Remember this phrase and you'll make millions of dollars. What do you think? That's the phrase. When you want someone to record somebody, don't tell them what to do, say, what do you think? And then he'll play something, and then you put on your record, and you get $1 million. You don't have to pay him shit. Well, I did that bit. There was silence, no laughter, and so it was just do some hippie shit. so I did my hippie shit. And it was like, hey, Dre, man, are you a real doctor, man? You know, and it's on his album. And so after I recorded it, I never got paid. I was waiting for him to come out of the recording booth and say, oh, that's great, or that wasn't great, or can you do something else? And I waited, no one showed up. And then someone told me, oh, everybody left. I was there alone, and so that's it. So then a few months, or was it a year? About a year later, I'm in the elevator with my son's girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, who now she was studying to be a lawyer, and now she was working for Dr. Dre. And I said, oh, crazy, that's great. That's because he owes me some money. and she goes, Meg, he owes you money for what? I said, well, I'm on that recording. It went platinum and everything, and I never got paid. And she goes, you never got paid? I said, no. She goes, I'll have a check. How much does he owe you? I said,
nice.
Well, originally it was 5,000, but because he made me wait, I said, 10,000. And she said, you'll have your money today. And I did.
Wow,
and
nice.
I did.
Oh, wow.
But then I said, oh shit, I could have said 100,000.
Hey, can I just say before we go any further, can we let's all smoke?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you twisted my arm. Now I was going to show you my latest way of smoking, but I'm too lazy to get all that shit together. So.
All good.
Oh my God.
I got a pipe. It's automatic, and you just push a button and hold the lighter over the bowl. You fill that bowl up first, and you hold the button down, and it blows. I think it's like a
It's not a vape pen.
No. It's a pipe. If I can find it, I'll fire it out for you.
Nice.
And I got this other Israeli pipe that I found, and I lost it again. I gotta have it of putting shit so I won't forget where I put them.
It's classic.
And guess what? And sometimes I find all that shit all at once. Like I buy these here they are. I buy these glasses. They're like reading glasses.
Oh, nice.
And they got a light.
I can see it on the side. Yeah.
Yeah, the battery's gone on it, but I keep losing them, and so I buy new ones. And then sometimes, or one time, I find them all at once. So I got like 6 pair of glasses, and then I'll lose them again. And then here's the other thing. This is like a box cutter. Because I carve wood, and I lose these all the time. So I got at least five or more. Oh, no, it's funny. People ask me about the pandemic. I said, well, I'm a comedian, and I'm also a good audience, because I never started out. I started out as being an audience, a fan of comics. And that's how I got into it, because I love comedy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're on stage, and then, there's some dead time. And so when Cheech and I, because Cheech and I, neither one of us were trained comics, but we're actors. And every once in a while we'd have to address the crowd, And so then after a while, I started kind of digging it, because I got a captive audience. So then I'd come in there and do a little bit of time, a little bit of, stream of consciousness kind of stuff. And and then next thing I know, Cheech goes off to become an actor, and I'm alone. And I tried to make a movie, but it didn't work. I made it, but it was okay. It wasn't really who I am. But I realized that I love doing stand-up. I didn't know that until I saw Dennis Miller live one time, and I kind of hung with him a little bit, but enough to get the bug, because here you are in front of an audience with just you and a microphone, and they want to be there, and you want to be there, so it's really a nice vocation, nice something to do. So I became a stand-up. It took a while. It wasn't easy. I had to start from the bottom, and then I had to fight the opposite. Instead of being unknown, I was too known. And so I ended up with a manager. What's his name? Paul Reiser, his manager, and I told him, he told me, first of all, put away the sports jacket. For a while there, I was wearing a sports jacket, looking kind of sharp, being a comic, and then he told me, lose that, go back to blue jean shirts and being Chong. And then, but then I told him, I said, I only got like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so I'll just, you can book me around, but I just want to be like the opening act, Well, you can't, he said, oh yeah, no problem. But I found out, you can't go from being, headlining, and then all of a sudden you're an opening act, you're not allowed. And so my first gig, instead of being an opening act, I was a feature, and I had 10 minutes tops.
Nice.
And I had to stretch that 10 into 20, and they still had to bring the other comics on before me to finish the show. Man, it was crazy. But eventually I ended up being able to do a lot of time. Now you can't shut me up.
The three of us met doing stand-up comedy, actually, Cody, Anthony, and myself.
Yes.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. Where about? What area did you?
So we met in New York, but
I'm currently in West Virginia doing stand-up comedy out here.
Oh, good. Yeah, but it's fun. You get addicted to it.
It's true.
Cheech and I go out with my wife. Oh, and then I got tired of being on the road alone, and my wife is too good looking to leave alone. So I begged her to come on the road with me, and she not on it. Come and sit in the dressing room waiting for you. I said, well, how about if I put you in the show? And she was acting at the time, so she goes, okay. and so she started up introducing me, and then she ended up, by the time she can do 45 minutes now,
Oh wow!
Nice.
And she's pretty good. I got to tell you, because she's my wife, so she's you got a heads up on the other comedians starting out. You know what I'm saying? So one time we're playing a gig with Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh, nice! Yeah, I love Bobcat.
Well, Bobcat, he's a movie director as well, actor, all sorts of things. He had this young girlfriend. He dumped his wife, I guess, or they split up. Anyway, he's got a young girlfriend on the road with him, and she's kind of talking her business to my wife, And so my wife gets up, and how comics are. The last thing you heard is the first thing you say. So she's opening up. This is after Bobcat was on. Then Shelby goes up, and then she brings me up. So Shelby's up there, and she starts talking about Bobcat leaving his wife and for the younger. and Bobcat comes running into my dressing room, fucking crying, man. He's like, "Hey, man, your wife's out there talking about me." And I looked at him. I said, "Bob, we're comedians. That's what we do. You never been to a roast, But he wasn't respecting her as a comedian. It was like she was my wife, and how dare she? How dare she go? Well, she'll talk shit about me. Are you kidding? And the last thing I can do is tell her what to do. If anything, I said, you do that, it'll make it worse. he was literally crying like a little bitch.
Oh, wow. So now we have beef with Bobcat Goldthwait. All right.
Bobcat Goldthwait, yeah.
I don't know if he's still upset about that. He probably is. That was a lot of years ago, but it was, I mean, she is Shelby, my wife. She's so natural. Well, she grew up with me basically, and she was the one that designed me.
Yeah.
She told me, you grow your hair long, and the look. And she was the art. She Nice Dreams, the movie Nice Dreams.
Yeah.
She did the costumes.
Nice.
That's how the way Cheech and I look and everything. She's an artist. She's really an artist, but she's a perfect comic. Like I've been trying to get to her and I. In fact, it was her and I until Cheech came back in the picture. And then when Cheech came back in, he thought it was going to be like the old Cheech and Chong, just him and I. But she laid down the law. She goes, "Don't you dare leave me." she got me one day. I was laying in the sun. "Don't you dare leave me. You better not. Are you kidding?" I gotta choose between her and Cheech. But so she ended up in the show. I gotta tell you how we got back together, because my son was also a really good comedian. He hasn't worked professionally yet, but he's one of those guys, the behind the scenes guys.
Yeah.
Where you say, how'd that bit go again? He writes for you. Yeah, that's where my son Paris, he's like that there. And he writes. In fact, he was the one that got Cheech and I together, because when Cheech and I had a meeting, we had talked for years. Yeah. And we had a meeting. It was a nice meeting, but it was kind of uncomfortable because he had been acting with Don Johnson, and he really carved out a name for himself in the acting world, And
was that was on Nash Bridges, right? That's what you're talking about?
Nash Bridges, and then he'd done a ton of movies and everything else, where he wasn't Cheech, and he wouldn't grow his mustache back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talked, I realized, you know, I can't work with this guy, you know, because the other Cheech, we never had to even talk. We had a mental thing, you know. He knew what I was thinking, I knew what he was thinking, and he sort of left all that for Don. And so I used to do half my act was ragging on Cheech. and so I used to do this song. It starts out up in smoke. You know, you get a joint, get so high, you go to rent a Cheech and Chong movie, and but you forget why you're there. You know. And you end up watching the Discovery Channel. two shows about two frogs fucking. and I know saying two frogs fucking. Anyway, one frog looks like Don Johnson. One frog looks like Don Johnson.
That's hilarious.
So anyway, we go to Aspen. So my son. So what happened? My son, he faked a letter from me to Cheech saying, "Oh, let's get together." Blah blah blah. Next thing you know, Cheech and I are together. But before that happened, they had a reunion for us in Aspen, Colorado, and first time on stage, Cheech and Chong, you know. And so I kind of met Cheech in the bar, actually, because before we shared hotel rooms together, you know, we were that close. But now, you know, he's different. He's with Don and that. And so I go to the bar to meet Cheech, and he's sitting there, and so I said, well, so you know, they're going to expect us to do something. So I said, well, let's do Harry and Margaret, because Cheech has no lines in Harry and Margaret. He just reacts. And she said, no, I don't want to do that. So anyway, then I realized, and he really doesn't want to do any old Cheech and Chong bits. And so he thought we were just going to go on stage, say hi, and then goodbye, you know. So, but I had been working live, man. And so when I got in front of a crowd, next thing you know, I'm singing the song about him and Don Johnson. and I couldn't see him, but they told me that he was pacing back and forth because he had nowhere to go. You know, there's no backstage to go. He's trapped on the stage, and he's walking back and forth behind me. Oh man. I laughed at. That was a crazy night. Jim Carrey was there.
Nice.
And then Jim called me up, and I ended up going over to his room and finding out how fucking crazy he is.
Did you smoke? Have you ever smoked with Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Nice.
Did we get? I don't know. I was in the room with him. I don't think we smoked, but I know he smokes. You know.
I just can't picture him being mellowed out and like.
Oh, he's such a genius. He is a genius. But a lot of those guys, you know, they're sort of like they're trapped in their world, you know. It's kind of a mental thing, you know. Like Robin Williams, you know. I met Robin a couple of times, but each time he was really nervous around me, you know. Because we were before him, and Robin had a habit of seeing an act and then being able to do the act, you know, word for word.
I didn't know that.
And he couldn't help it. And so he couldn't go to comedy clubs or anything else, you know, because he'd walk out with that guy's act. Yeah, he did a bit that I used to do. But I wasn't mad because I stole that part from the committee. In fact, the blind melon chillin'. That was originally a committee bit, but I, you know, because I grew up with the blues players, you know, I knew that life pretty well. So I could be authentic. But I have retired that bit. I don't do that. I won't be doing that bit anymore. Because of the Black Lives Matter and George Floyd.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah.
So one of my friends told me today that it was because of you that Bob Marley started smoking weed in public. Is that true?
I don't know about that. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, no, because back in the day you could go to jail, especially you're black and you're doing something like that. So I don't think it's true. But we did. Cheech and I worked with Bob Marley. They only did one concert in America back then, and it was at the Roxy Theater in Hollywood. Nice. And we were all excited because Cheech and I. It was a big honor. We're going to open for Bob Marley and the Wailers. And so they wanted to meet us. And so Cheech and I went down to the Roxy and we walked in the dressing room and it was like a Cheech and Chong movie. Smoke. You couldn't see anybody. All you could see was smoke. And then I heard a voice out of the dark. You didn't know where it came from, but you heard the voice. Hey, Chinaman, say something funny, man.
That's hilarious.
He didn't say Mexican. He said Chinaman. Yeah, that was great. I never smoked with Bob. I mean, in fact, I just waved, but I did smoke up, or at least I got high in the same hotel room as Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, sick!
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, we played a gig in London when I was with Motown, and Jimmy. We had Bobby T and the Vancouvers. We had our own band, our own musicians, and so they booked us a little club in London. And the first set, man, there's nobody in the club, empty. And then all of a sudden, the door opened and Jimi Hendrix walked in, and 300 people were following him. So it was like the Pied Piper. And he made his entrance. He walked up to the stage and he talked to me. He said, Hey, Tom, do you mind if I sit in?
Oh, nice. That's
and I was so tempted because it went through my mind. I was so tempted to say, maybe the last set, Jim. We're working on our own stuff. Awesome. I had that urge, man, but of course I said, "Oh yeah," and I took out my guitar, and he goes, "No." He goes, "No." He's a left-handed guitar player, so he couldn't play my guitar. He goes, "No, I'll play bass." So the poor bass player, Wes, oh man, I felt so bad for him because Wes had to take off his bass and hand it to Jimmy. And we jammed for about an hour.
Nice.
In fact, they had to pull the plug on us. And Jimmy didn't sing. He just played bass. He was a bass player. And we're doing our Bobby's singing his ass off. And we had another guitar player. And he was kicking Eddie Patterson. He's the only one alive now. Eddie is in Toronto, but he's the only guitar player alive that can say that he played with Hendrix, where he played guitar and Hendrix played bass. Nice. And then after we went up to our hotel room with Jimmy, and I didn't see him. We didn't see him. He stayed in the bathroom the whole time. The whole party. Are you okay in there, Jim? He must be okay. There's nothing. It's okay. So he's in there, shooting up his heroin, and we're outside smoking our joint. Yeah, if you don't mind, I got my Shelby. Come and say hello to these are all comics.
Hello, Shelby. We've seen you in the videos. You're very funny.
Yeah.
Hey, nice to
see you on TikTok.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. It was a real pleasure having you on.
This was incredible.
Thanks, guys. Okay, I gotta go. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Yo.
Right.
Dude, I am not gonna lie. There was one point in time I cried.
Hi, you're listening to Comics and Chronic, and I'm Jake FH.
I'm Cody Cannon.
And I'm Anthony Iannaccio.
And you can tune in every Thursday to hear new episodes of Comics and Chronic.
And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Comics and Chronic. That's Comics, the letter N, Chronic.
We'll see you guys next week.
Woo!
Peace.